What if the thing you've been calling love is actually fear wearing a nice costume? You say yes when you mean no. You apologize for things that aren't your fault. You shrink yourself so other people stay comfortable. And somewhere along the way, you started calling this being like Christ. But here's an uncomfortable question. What if that's not love at all? What if it's people-pleasing, dressed up in scripture so it feels holy instead of exhausting? Stick around, because by the end of this video, you might realize you've been confusing self-abandonment with faithfulness, and there's a way better version of love waiting for you on the other side. People-pleasing isn't kindness. Psychologically, it's often a survival strategy, something we learn early on to stay safe, accepted, or loved. If conflict felt dangerous growing up, or love felt conditional on being good or easy, your brain may have learned, keep everyone happy, and you'll stay safe. The problem is, this strategy doesn't stay in childhood. It follows us into adulthood, into friendships, into marriages, into church. And it starts to look a lot like virtue, because on the outside, people pleasers seem so giving, so agreeable, so selfless. But underneath, it's often driven by fear of rejection, fear of conflict, fear of being too much. And when this fear gets mixed with faith language, it can disguise itself as something holy, when really, it's just self-abandonment with a Bible verse attached. Let's look at 8 signs that this might be you. 1. You say yes automatically, before you even check in with yourself. Real love involves choice. People-pleasing skips the choice entirely. It's reflexive, not intentional. 2. You feel guilty resting, unless you've earned it by serving others first. This often reflects a belief that your worth is tied to your usefulness, not a biblical view of grace, which says you're valuable before you do anything at all. 3. You avoid conflict even when something is genuinely wrong. Christ didn't avoid every hard conversation. He had them with love and truth together. Avoiding conflict at all costs isn't peacemaking. It's fear of disapproval. 4. You over-explain or apologize for having needs. If asking for something simple makes you spiral into over-explaining, that's not humility, that's a nervous system bracing for rejection. 5. You feel responsible for other people's emotions. Taking on the job of managing everyone else's feelings isn't love. It's an exhausting, impossible role that isn't yours to carry. 6. You give until you're depleted, then feel guilty for being depleted. Even Jesus withdrew to rest and pray, alone, away from the crowds who needed him. Giving without limits was never the model sustainable love was. 7. You struggle to receive help, gifts, or compliments. People pleasers are often excellent at giving and terrible at receiving because receiving requires believing you're worth being given to. 8. Deep down, you're scared that if you stop pleasing people, they'll leave. This is often the root fear underneath all the others, and it's worth naming honestly because that fear can't be outserved. It can only be healed. Here's where it gets interesting, because Scripture actually draws a clear line between people-pleasing and genuine love. In Galatians, Paul asks directly, am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? If I were still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ. That's not a small side comment. It's Paul explicitly separating faithful love from approval seeking. And look at Jesus himself. He said no. He rested. He let people walk away disappointed, even people he loved, because he wasn't operating from a need for approval. His love was rooted in identity, not performance. That's the model. Not endless self-erasure, but love that's secure enough to have boundaries. If you saw yourself in several of these signs, here's where to start. 1. Pause before you answer. Even 5 seconds of, let me think about it, interrupts the automatic yes. 2. Practice one small no. This week, start with something low stakes to build the muscle. 3. Notice the fear underneath and name it honestly to God, to yourself, or to someone safe. Fear loses power when it's spoken. 4. Remember, your worth isn't transactional. You don't have to earn love by being endlessly agreeable. Real love was never meant to cost you yourself. If this reframed something for you today, subscribe every week. We explore one mind and one scripture at a time. Let's grow together.